E aku piki kō tuku, e aku tō tara whakarangi ora o te wao, nau mai rarau ki tēnei terenga o Aukaha. Hei tīmatanga kōrero, māku e rere ana ngā whakaro aroha ki te whānau pani o te kuia, e iwa te kautau te pakeke i turakinara e te mate korona i ngā rangi kotaha ake nei. Ka māwhiti rā te rere o te aroha ki ngā pārurenga o te okaokanga, i pā ki tāmaki makaurau i te paunga o tēnei wiki. Ahakoa mātou e noho mamao ana, ko koutou tonu kei te rai o ngā whakaro i tēnei pō. Tau ārai te pō tītoko ki te ao mārama, kia tahuria ke tātou ki ngā kaupapa matua o te rā. He hua nui i puta i te kaupapa wero mā te waka a Te Arawa, engari nā te ruarua o ngā wero e kore pea e tū hei te wiki e tū mai nei. Ko te korokoro tūi o tauranga moana ko RIa Hall e hura ana i ngā take i weroa ai ia, nōna e hapū ana. Kātahi ka tirohia ngā kau marae o Te Arawa, e tahu kai ana mā te hunga e pōkai kahana i te wā o te noho taratahi. Ko Aukaha tēnei te taipū kōrero e te rea atu nei nau mai rā. Hei huataki ake i ngā pūrongo i tēnei wiki, tata ki te iwarau ngā tāngata i weroa i rotorua i tēnei wiki, i te whakatūnga mai o te wero mā te waka a Te Arawa. Nā runga i te ruarua o ngā Māori e weroa ana, i tahuria i a Te Arawa ki tēnei rautaki. He oe anō ko te wero nui i nāia nei, ko te kimirongoa anō kia haere tonua i tēnei kaupapa, hei te wiki e tū mai nei. I reira, a Herewini Waikato.
He whakaro nā te iwi o Te Arawa, kia ake a ngai Māori, kia whiwhi ai ki te kano ārai mate. Ko Miriama Walker, te tuatahi i te rārangi.
It was easy. Didn't hurt at all. It's a neat idea that we've got to drive in today to do it.
Ngā mea Māori e tai mai te rangi nei, tata ki te ware te kaupai heneti. Hei rawe.
It's beautiful that nearly every car I've seen have been Māori.
Is this your first one today, Whaia?
Ko te tūmanako o tāku te Grace Malcolm, no te hauoro o Ngāti Piki ao, kia hono a Māori mā ki tēnei kaupapa nā te iwi. Ko te toko iti a Māori i whiwhi kano ārai mate te take.
I think the whole of New Zealand is behind the 8 ball. Really, truly. So the impetus for the drive-through was because of the poor numbers of Māori that have been vaccinated in Rotorua. The numbers are poor.
It's taken a Māori-driven kaupapa to bring our Māori people to get vaccinated. And I've had a comment to say that it's exactly that.
He titi noa ngā rongo wā puta noa i te motu, o tira he wero anō mā ngā kaupapa a iwi kia pēnei te whiwhi rongo wā mena ka pau.
There are people in DHB who are very supportive, and there are people who, I don't know why, but they're not necessarily as supportive as they could be, but they're actually in quite high positions, significant positions, and they can slow things down and they can make things harder. And that's the real nuisance part.
From a governance perspective, we've been reassured that there is enough vaccines. That's why we can drive this home.
E ai ki e tahi mena i timatawa we ngā kaupapa pērā ki tēnei, kua teitei ake ngā whika.
Iwi really do need to take charge and say, this will work, this won't work, give us the resources. And that is the point that we're really at, is in the end from the DHB we want, and from the ministry, we want the resources. We will do it how we know best how to do it, and that's as a community. Oh, is this your first year?
My first one.
Whā te kau ngā kai mahi hauora, prihimana waka tūroro wā tene Māori, e te ake ana ngā whānau, toru rau tangata piki ake i tono te rā nei, te rā tuatahi o ngā rangi e toru, mo te whiwhirongo wā ārai mate.
Awesome. Well, first of all, it was the access, easy access and the availability. Yeah, so we've got the link sent out from Te Arawa, so that's why I'm here today.
Oh, just to get the vaccine done and over and done with pretty much. Yeah, no, this is the first one.
Yeah.
It's better safe than sorry. I turned up earlier than I should have, not knowing what to expect, but no, it's been really fast. Thank you.
Ka tīmata nō tēnei wāhi kano ārai mate i ngā wiki tata ake nei. Herewini Waikato, Aukaha.
Ki tauranga moana i nāia nei, e aki ana te reo rōreka o ngā terangi a RIa Hall i ngā māmai hapū ana, kia kaua e hopo i te wero ārai mate korona. Kātahi anoa RIa ka whakawhānau i tana pēpē tuatoru i tēnei taumata o hiti tuawhā, engari i mua i tērā i whakatau ia kia weroa ia ki te kano ārai mate. Ahakoa ngā kōrero whakarangirua e rere haere ana mō ngā māma o tēnei motu. I kōrero tahi rāua, ko ripeka timutumu i nā kua nei.
Tuatahira kei te pēhea koutou ko tō whānau i tēnei wā noho moho awana tātou katoa.
Ai, aha koa ngā pēhitanga o te wā, kei te tino ora mātou, kei te tino ora. Rawa atu.
Koera te mea nui, koera te mea nui. Now, there's been so much kōrero about getting the COVID-19 vaccination, especially for our hapū mama. So ultimately, what made you make that decision to get it?
I suppose katahi, I kaha rangahau au, me te mea nei I kaha whakarongo au ki ngā mātanga o taua ao. So I spent quite a bit of time listening to our experts, be they Pākehā, be they our own experts, Māori experts like Dr. Rawiri Jensen, Dr. Mataroria Linden, Dr. Lily Fraser. And I was just really encouraged by the fact that our own experts gave such wonderful information and continue to give such incredible information. And I did my own research in regards to vaccinating while hapū. And I made the decision to do that because I felt like there hadn't been much of a conversation in terms of hapū wahine Māori going that way to get the vaccination. But of course, I also felt like it was a good opportunity for us as a whānau, for my family in particular. I've got people in my own immediate whānau that are that have underlying conditions, and I didn't want to be a hindrance to them. And knowing that they are in that space, particularly I think about people like my mum, my aunties, who are hitting their 70s, and I knew that from the information that I'd received and that I had read that I was making a good call. And so at 36 weeks hapū, I had my vaccination out with my own whānau at Piriraka Haora. So yeah, I feel really good about the decision, and I've been supported by other hapū mama as well who have done exactly the same thing. So e mihi ana kia koutou I ngā wahine hapū that have received the vaccinations. Mihi atu ana kia koutou.
I tērā wiki I mea mai te Premier Jacinda Ardern, 6 pipi under the age of 1 were positive COVID cases in the latest outbreak. I pēhea o whakaro ki tēnā?
Yeah, well, I remember I te whakaroa mo te wahine I te rātau, I te noho moho ao mātau, I think kōrero I aia te COVID I te wā e hapū ana ia. And I know that there were some ads and stuff that were that she was a part of explaining, I was heavily hapū at the time, and I was at a tangihanga and I contracted COVID-19, and it was the most horrific experience that I could have had. And I was thinking about that during this whole decision to vaccinate myself. And it's important that we take those things into consideration, those real-time, real-life experiences that people have actually gone through. And, that particular wahine is wahine Māori who had gone through something like that horrific at a tangihanga. So, yeah, it was just all the information that I'd managed to gather and just ascertain a decision for myself and for my whānau. And, it just felt like the right thing for me and for my whānau to do. And so, yeah, I really empathise with all the whānau of those pepe who have contracted COVID-19. It's an absolutely horrific state to be in, and my aroha goes out to all of those whānau.
You posted on your social media account that you had received the vaccination, and I've seen some of those comments, and some aren't the nicest. So can you tell us about that, and how you respond, because it seems that it's quite a polarizing issue for many of our whānau.
It really is, and I knew that there would be people that held certain views and were quick to kind of jump down my throat, for want of a better terminology. off that, I also received like threats that came through my direct messages, really kōrero whakaiti on through direct messaging. So it's a lot of flack to take, particularly when you're hapū and you're trying to encourage other people to educate themselves and to do their own research and have their own discussions and own kōrero without projecting my own my own decision onto anyone. And so it has been hard, but you can navigate around those kinds of kōrero, but it is disheartening, and they come thick and fast too, I felt like I was a free-for-all at one point, but at the same time, I was prepared for that. I just thought to myself, well, this is the stance that I'm taking. This is a decision for me and my whānau. I'm confident in my research and all the kōrero from the experts that I've heard, and I wanted to share that with our whānau. So, I suppose in this current space, it just comes with the territory, having to kind of fend off those polarizing views.
Aye, tika. And you do have a comms expert in your whare, so I'm sure he might give you a bit of advice about how to handle those issues. The Waiariki vaccination rates are still quite low compared to non-Māori, with only around 15% of Māori fully vaccinated across Aotearoa. I know that you were vaccinated here. You've mentioned it before with one of our Māori health providers. What was that experience like, and do you think they're crucial and critical to lifting some of those rates?
100%. Absolutely, 100%. I mean, there's no better forum or space for us to be in than amongst our own, in an environment that we are familiar with, where it doesn't seem jaded by jargon, by medical terminology, just people that look like you, speak like you, sound like you, and have a relationship with your particular hāpori. So our Māori health providers are absolutely crucial to ensuring that our whānau receive the information, right information that they're after. If they want to make informed decisions, they can actually do that there with our Māori health providers. And it's just a good space to be in. And I received an appointment immediately too through my whānau out at the Piriraka Hauora. So I just want to give a big mihi to all of our Māori health providers that are on the front line doing the mahi. It's not a small task that they've been charged to do. I just want to really send my mihi out to all of our Māori health providers.
Nei rā, taku mihi mai oha kia koe kei taku whanaunga. Tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe, tēnā tātou.
Tēnā kōrua, tuahine mai we nā kōrero hira ake nei. Nā mō koutou mō te hunga e rangirua e māharahara tonu ana rānei. Tēnā whakapātu ki tō rata, toro atu rānei ki te pae tukutuku covid.immune.org.nz. Nā ki tētahi atu kaupapa, tētahi atu rōpu e tōtara wāhi rua tonu ana ki te kano ārai mate, ko ngā tauira whare wānanga o te motu. Engari tērā tētahi ratonga haura Māori I kirikiri roa ko ngā miro te ingoa, e whakapau kahana ki te hunga rangatahi, mā te whakatū pokapū ārai mate ki roto tonu I o rātou ake pātū watawata. Anei te pūrongo, a mai oha pānapa.
Ngā Miro reached out to our Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Sarah Jane Tiakiwai, basically we facilitated this opportunity here at the University of Waikato. The university sees it as really important for our rangatahi, our Māori and Pacific students here. And I think particularly given that we're in a hall setting, it was equally important that we are able to offer this opportunity to them, given the higher risks associated with living with more students in our bubbles. The feeling I get from our residents here is that you know, they're just keen to get that extra layer of protection for themselves, for their friends, and also for their families as well. So a big drive for our students is, protecting our families, our whānau, and our communities.
I stay at Orchard Park, I'm a resident here, and I learnt through, because we have a page on Facebook that learnt about the pop-up that was happening today. As a person that doesn't have a vehicle on them, especially in like lockdown, it has been really easy for me and my bubble to just come here and to get our first dose. It was really easy and it wasn't as bad as I thought. And it was easier because I had my bubble with me as well, so because we were laughing through the whole thing, so it made it a bit easier to get my mind off it.
So for myself as a young wahine of Ngāti Haua and Tainui, it's really awesome because our iwi leaders encourage tribal descendants to get that vaccination, as well as Kingitu Heitia, which is really awesome. It's really cool as a young wahine Māori living on a university campus to go to a place that was Māori, like Te Hau, and just the manakitanga and the kindness and the mauri of the space was really nice. My advice to all rangatahi Māori in universities and university halls is most certainly go and get vaccinated, and also take on that role of leadership within your whare wānanga, within your university, to get the team, your local team into the university to provide vaccinations just like we have here at Te Whare Wānanga o Waikato.
Kia ora whanau, for those that are out there, kia kaha, my ropu here, we all from Turunga Wau Marae. We're not professionals in any way or any form of the health sector. Engari, being born and raised in the marae has helped manakia people, and that's pretty much the key and the trick to strive and to move forward and to get all our people vaccinated and to increase the numbers, because we're the most vulnerable people at the end of the day who will get affected by this the most. This vaccination is just as important to the tauira than it is to us. So get vaccinated, get protected, mauri ora.
Tau ke tauira mā. Nā hoki mai ana ki rotorua, neke atu I te kutahi mano ngā waha I whāngai hia I rotorua I tēnei wiki, e ngā rato ngā hāpai whānau Māori o te rohe. Ko rotorua whakaora me kāpai kai ērā e whakamahiti korou ana, ki te taka kai mā ngā tini whānau, e pō raru hia ana e ngā here o te noho taratahi.
These are carrots and potatoes that have to be bagged, which is what I'm doing down here. Level 4, we must pre-bag everything that is loose, so nothing goes out that isn't bagged. The need for food has always been there, and it's always greater when lockdown hits. People have that panic mode because they don't have that freedom to go shopping like they used to. This morning I have a team from Whakarewarewa, Buried Village, who have come in to help pack bags to distribute from the car park at Te Arawa at 12 o'clock for Whakarewarewa and the community around them. We normally feed 40,000 a month on our distribution. I think we've almost hit 30,000 in the last 7 days. The biggest thing is rent, and that is even pre-lockdown. Rent and food, they can't afford to buy it. Just that accessibility is no longer there.
Most of our villages are kaumātua, and there's about maybe 26 to 30 whānau, and they all have mokopuna, and they're very vulnerable.
Kia tai mai rātou, ka pātai a te haha o rātou ingoa, e he ngā tangata kei roto I ia whānau. Hā tā rātou wāhi noho.
We pick up the number of bags that Kayla puts their hands up, and then we put them in the back of their car. Hi! You don't realise how much people need help until you actually have to, well, do step into volunteer.
I've got lettuce, which I absolutely love. I've always been to Depot Street, but I haven't been lately because I lost my ride. And I've got a couple of broken ribs at the moment. So, I walked up here from Fenton Street, living in emergency housing. And I'm so grateful for like an order for the food because it helps me out so much.
Well, I think they're doing a good job. It's hitting me in here. That's where it's hitting me.
So today we got corned beef and salad rolls, whole grain buns. With Whānau, we're creating 200 lunch packs, kai packs to go out, and they got a lunch and a dinner in them for whānau around Aotearoa.
What have you got in there, Jake?
Apple pie, cream and custard.
Over here they'll be making rolls. Today they've got apple pie as well and shepherd's pie, I think. No, mac and cheese for lunch today. So, mean kai. The catalyst for this was, I suppose, a response to COVID. Families become under more pressure to provide kai. We work in the lunch and school space, ka ora ka apo. And so we know that there are people out there that need kai regularly, and that's been pulled away. So this is our opportunity to fill that gap. It's a massive need. We're just lucky that we get to play a part in it.
Very humbling, actually. Very humbling. Knowing that we've got people out in the community that, I wouldn't say less blessed, but that are in need for something like this.
The aroha that goes into the food from these hospitality professionals that have been doing this for years and giving it to our manuhiri from overseas, we're really lucky now that that same energy, that same passion goes back into our school communities and into our tamariki. So I think a natural transition for our people.
My role at Fordlands Community Centre is Whānau Connector, so it's an MSD contract trying to support whānau to empower them to really take ownership and be independent. Whānau have become accustomed and used to lunch in schools, so that's become something when you're budgeting and looking at food shopping, that you're used to not having to buy school lunches for the kids, and now you've got kids home all day, so of course that's more pressure on people with needing kai. To have a hot meal is awesome, and like I had one mum yesterday when we dropped the kai, just so appreciative of the home baking that was in there as well, and just to have the fruit and like a nice nutritious salad sandwich. It's awesome to be able to do and provide.
Everyone's rolling their sleeves up. The team of 5 million is doing their bit, and this is our way of contributing to that. The thought that there are whānau out there facing stresses daily around kai, and we can in some little way alleviate it, you got to get off your nono and help out.
Tuia ki tēnā pūrongo, nā wai I kino kotino kino keake. Koira tā ngā mātanga haura a hinengaro Māori, mō ngā taumahatanga kua pā ki ngā whānau I tēnei te wiki tuatoru o te noho taratahi. A hei whakakōrero I tēnei kaupapa ko hono mai te uri o Te Arawa, a mai ko nāra mātanga ma te hinengaro mō ngā iwi taketake o te ao. E te tuakana e mai tēnā koe I whaiwahi mai ki a mātou o Aukaha. A pātai tuatahi ki a koe e te rangatira. Kei te pēhea koe I tēnei noho taratahi. How's your lockdown been, and have you been fielding a number of calls for assistance during this time?
Tēnā koe e te tūngane. Ai tēnā pai rau atu taku moho ao, taku taratahi. Ai I te rātau ko au, ko taku hoa rangatira e no moho ao. I tēnei moho ao, ko tai mai ngā whānau katoa I whakakiki ana tō mātou whare e tū ake nei. Nō reira e pai ana, pai raua tō mātou whare e tū ake rā.
Nō reira, pēhea e tahi atu whānau I hoa, you're an expert in the art of, in the field of Indigenous mental health. How are our whānau doing out there 3 weeks into this lockdown?
Yeah. I've fielded quite a few calls from some of our whānau throughout the country, asking for assistance regarding getting into mental health services. What's the pathway for them to access those services? And what I'm finding is that it's really difficult at the moment, specifically talking to my mates who are from the psychiatric units, who are working in addictions, who said that they're struggling to cope with the demands of our whānau ringing in. So I guess my job is to ensure that our whānau make it to those services and to make sure that our services are working with our whānau when they come in.
Now, we saw in the story earlier that a lot of our whānau who would normally rely a lot on the kai in schools and all of that to help pop up their budget each week in whāngai the tamariki, now that they don't have that assistance and having to deal with the kids at home every day. Some of these whānau have 14 bodies in the whare. What sort of pressure and struggle does that put on the mental health of a māma or a papa or both at home during this time?
Yeah, I think there's a spectrum, there's a continuum, and at the moment, the mental health messages or the health promotion messages are targeting our whānau who are doing well, who are just coping with day-to-day stresses or anxiety about wanting to get out of lockdown so they can return to work. But what I want to focus on is our whānau that we're already in poverty. And we got to remember that before lockdown, over 200,000 children were in poverty, and 55,000 of those were Māori children. And now that we're going through a lockdown, there are huge compounding issues that are impacting on our children and on our whānau. And kai is one of those things that we need to have as a necessity. So our whānau will think about kai, think about how they're going to pay the power, think about how they're going to get housing before they actually think about the messages that have been put out nationwide. So I think we need to have a bit of compassion around our whānau that are experiencing these huge stresses in their whānau, just to cope with the day-to-day things of maintaining the key message of a team of 5 million.
And now back home here in Rotorua, a 27-year-old wahine has been charged with murder following the death of a child here in Rotorua. Now, we can't talk about the case as it's before the court, but I mean, that is a sign of the stresses and the hardships that some of our whānau are already facing. What's your experience and knowledge with the level of stress that our whānau are experiencing?
Yeah, so there's levels of stress, and I mentioned it earlier in my kōrero. There's the anxiety of wishing that this was all over and I can go to work, I can go meet up with my mates, I can go and have coffee and do all those things. So those are the normal stressors that are going on and dealing with the day-to-day stuff. But there's the other stressors that are unsaid and unheard, and that's when you move past the level of control and you move into the area of being really red about things, really angry about things, and there's no point of return. So, for example, our whānau may have experienced things like not having formula in the cupboard to feed our baby, not having kai on the table to feed our babies, and the constant crying that's occurring, and all you want to do is to ensure that our baby is silenced, and this is the only way that you can do it, through that breaking point. So I'm not saying that this is what happened in that home, but I just know that a lot of whānaus go to that red point, and so you end up arguing on the streets and having domestics in the streets, or actually physically punching someone, or you actually move to the stage of really harming someone, and that's moving into the state of murder, or really taking someone's life, or taking your own life. And these are the things that I believe that haven't been really talked about lately. And I don't think that there's been strategies to actually look at these things, to actually take care of our whānau that are at that extreme end of the spectrum. And, handing out a pamphlet to say these are the services is probably surface things for me. I think we need on-the-ground services working in our communities, working together with them to make sure they're all right.
And speaking of suicide, that's an issue that is very prevalent during this lockdown. A lot of our whānau in Rotorua, but also in Auckland, are experiencing it. How bad is it?
It's I can only speak anecdotally, and we got to also understand that these sudden deaths are before the coroner at the moment. But I've received urgent or crisis calls from whānau throughout the country, saying that they've been struggling with the death of loved ones during this time to suicide. So I've been helping to firstly console them and to move them through the process of the tangihanga process, and to also look at ways and strategies to look after them. But this tells me, Kiriama, that our whānau are struggling. Our whānau are struggling with the lockdown. Our whānau are struggling in isolation. And whilst it's suicide, our whānau are also struggling with self-harm and suicide attempts. Now, these are all the whānau that have been contacting me during this time.
E taku rangatira, Michael Naira, tēnā koe wēnei kōrero, and thank you very much for the mahi that you do looking after our whānau there on the ground who are really struggling with this type of kaupapa. Ngā mihi nui ki a koe, taku rangatira.
Tēnā koe oa, tēnā koe tau katoa.
Hei whakatepe ake i te hekenga o te taumata ohiti ki te toru mo te toenga o te motu, neke atu i te 5 mano ngā waka i whakarere i ora tau kāinga i tāmaki makaurau. Ko etahi i haere whakateraki ki te tai tokerau, ko etahi i haere whakaterawhiti ki pare hauraki. Heoi anō i matapaetia tērā e ngā uri o manaia. Ka whakatū ai tētahi Aukati e rua te kaumawha haora te roa, aha kua te āwha kia kore ai tō rātou rohe e uru tomokia e Te Arawa Hall.
Oh, look, there's someone. Kei te pai. Kora wai. Kia ora. Ko te ingoa, ko tāwharaitia te iwi. Aha ko te māmo o te ingoa, he kaupapa nui tāna. Ko te kaupapa o te rōpū, he tiaki, he manaaki tonu i te iwi, kia noho haumaru. Ai te katoa i tēnei wā, ai noho nei tātou ki te noho mohoao, ki te rāhui, putono i te motu. Nā reira, he me nui kia tonu te rōpū nei, kia mātou nei whakarite, ara te Aukati i te rori nei, kia kore ai tēnei mate e kuhu mai ai ki tēnei ripatau ārai.
I'm here tonight to tautoko our whānau, our village, our iwi. Oh, I just saw that the Met Service had issued a heavy rain warning. Oh, it's terrible. My first night, not a great night.
I just take pictures of the license plate as they go past. So we're trying to stop them to see what sort of waka they've got. And then we just take a picture of the license plate so know who's coming and going.
Ai, ki te haere mai tētahi waka maramata ki tea he kaupapa anō te haere mai. Tēnā ka tukuna ngā mōhiohio tangata katoa. Tuatahi ki ngā kia mātou nei kaimahi, ko whakarite i tahi kaimahi. Tūrua ka tere tuku atu ki ngā prehimana. Kia whaiwhai atu rātou i nei waka e haere ana i te rori. Maramata ki te atu e ua ana, heke mai ana te ua, tukuhi mai ana te hau. Nā reira me atu tia ki tātou i a tātou anō i tēnei wā kapai.
I mōhio pai mātou me nei kuna i mātou, e noho haumaru anu tō mātou nei kāinga, tō mātou nei rohe. Ahua waru haura mātou i konei, e toru o mātou nei rōpū. Kari te tino raru mātou, he tino pai, no te me hoa he whanaunga. I te wā kua mutu au, ka hau mai e te atu whanaunga, tēnā pia toko rima, toko ono rātou. Tīmata rātou ki te paupautanga o te pō, tai atu ki te waru karaki te ata.
I'm on from 4 till midnight, and at midnight we got some of the whānau joining us, and 6 of them are coming along. Well, it's been really awesome because whānau have dropped us off hangi, lollies, drinks, hot drinks on the roll. If I wasn't here tonight, I'd be at home watching TV in the warm.
Ai, kei konei mātou, I te ao, I te pō. Ngā haora katoa o te rangi, o te pō hoki, kei konei. Koenei tā mātou ki te iwi e hihana, kei konei mātou. Kau e ohorere, ko tukuna te koro ki te katoa, kei konei mātou. Kei konei hoki mātou ki te tiaki i o mātou nei whanaunga, o mātou nei hoa, putano, putano.
And the flashing hazard lights are mean. Definitely signals to us by that truck too, front of the truck, yellow one, so that we know there's 3 along there, 4 along there actually, boom.
I tukuna e mātou, e te rōpū tāwharautia te iwi, tētahi reta, ki ngā prihimana o te rohe, ki te kaunehera o te rohe nei, ki ngā iwi hoki o te kāinga nei, kia tautoko mai I te kaupapa. Engari anō nā prihimana, ko tohu mai kia mātou, ka re tautokona te kaupapa, e te kaunehera, e hara I te mea ohorere, e tērā whakahoki, engari ko tā mātou kia rātou, kia kaha tonu koutou I te mea kei te āwhina hoki mātou, I a rātou nei mahi, mo te tiaki I te iwi.
I'm doing this because I'm afraid for my whānau that if COVID gets in here, we are a Māori village, so potentially we could be very prone to getting the COVID-19. It could be rampant through our village, and I just don't want that for us.
I te ronga atu a, ko hoki anō ki te noho moho au, I tere te whakatū mai I tēnei kaupapa.
Ka tiha e te iwi kua pai te waka ki uta I tēnei pō, engari mo te whānuitanga ki o ngā kaupapa Aukaha, tēnā toro atu ki te taupānga whare kōrero ki ngā pai pāho pori rānei Aukaha. Hei kupu whakamutunga, ngā whakamānawa ki o koutou ki ngā pāpā huri I te motu, kia pārekareka te pō, kia mai I te pō, mai e tōku.